Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Zachariah the Ghost. I was watching episode 33 of The Wife, and this episode was a great episode. Simply because they went deep into ancestors. They explained certain things that most people were having questions about when it comes to ancestors. We heard so many things about ancestors. We have seen so many things about ancestors. Some of us, we are dealing with a lot of stuff that ancestors are requesting, and we really didn't get, deep into the nitty-gritty of what makes ancestors angry, what makes ancestors behave the way they behave. Now, they went deep on that on this episode. And remember, on the previous episode, we have seen that Sbane was suffering. He was having dreams whereby he saw Mr. Ngobo, who is the grandfather, covered with smoke. And the grandfather was saying, Sbane, I have a message that I want you to give your mother Zandile and tell your mother to confess. Tell everybody what she did. If she doesn't confess, I'm going to live in you forever. And that part alone, it is so much important, simply because of, you see the grandfather showing up to the first grandson. And when you look into that, the grandfather is covered with smoke. He's late, of course. But he can even come and touch Sbane and give Sbane the message and make sure that the message is heard loud and clear. I love that scene simply because of, remember, the grandfather knows that Sbane's parents killed him and also his wife, Zandile's mother. And now he is about to become the ancestor who is very angry with Sbane's parents. Now, when you look at that situation, you can understand how difficult things are going to become for Sbane. If you have the ancestor who is very angry in you, simply because of your parents, both your biological parents, killed your grandparent, or your grandparents, if I may say. Because remember, Nkosana, he is the one who killed Zandile's mother, and now Zandile decided to kill her biological father. And now, the episode is one of those episodes that I would love to talk about over and over again. Now, we have seen that on the previous episode when they were telling Sbane that they are going to fix the problem. They didn't fix the problem because they started this episode 33 by showing us, Zandile and Nkosana, and it looks like they were preparing to go somewhere. They were about to take a trip. Simply because of Nkosana was telling, Zandile how beautiful, he was telling her how beautiful she is. He admires her a lot. And when she hugged him, she felt that, he was stiff. And she asked him, what is the problem? And he said, no, this thing of Sbane having your father in his dreams, doesn't sit well with me. And that's when Zandile started, blaming him. And she was like saying, yes, it's happening simply because of you decided to take me to the traditional healer who, put the curse on me. All these things were not happening until you took me to the traditional healer. Nkosana said, yes, you needed cleansing simply because of you just came out of jail. They went back and forth. And Nkosana said, I am so stressed about all these things and I'm trying to find Ngoba. I don't know where Ngoba is. And that's when Zandile was like saying, wherever Ngoba is, he is with, his woman. Mandisa, simply because of Ngoba, really love Mandisa and he support Mandisa. They're doing things together. And that's when Nkosana was like, the same Mandisa that you're defending a lot, I worked so hard for many years so that I can find the 80 million that you needed so that I can buy you freedom. And the same Mandisa that you love so much, she bent that 80 million. Of course, Zandile didn't want to believe what he was saying. Zandile, she said he is lying. There is no such thing. But now when you look at that, Zandile, she is so difficult. First of all, she came out of jail, whereby they break her out, and she started fighting with Kromo. simply because of she wanted control over her children. And, Shlomo was there to make sure that, she was taking care of the kids. The least that Zandile could have, done is to say thank you to Shlomo, but she didn't do that. The father showed up to the house. He pretended that he was sick. Nkosana was there to help. Now she is blaming Nkosana for bringing the father in the house, because she said, I told you that, don't bring my father in this house and with my uncles. I told you to take him back to where he comes from. Now Nkosana, of course, was like saying, your father told us that he's sick, and I tried everything in my power to tell you that he was lying to us, but you didn't want to listen to me. Now, do not let your anger blind you whereby you can not see the solution. Simply because of Nkosana wanted them to go and see the traditional healer. And she didn't want to go and see the traditional healer simply because of she believed that the traditional healer is the one who brought cares in her life. Of course, they had the arguments that went back and forth. And there comes a time whereby Sbane and the younger brother had to have breakfast. Zandile told them, to butter the bread while she's busy, going to make eggs for them. And that's when Sbane saw a reptile on the table. And he was, that scene, because the way he saw that reptile, he was frightened by it, simply because of, you normally don't see that big reptile on a table, a kitchen table. Zandile was also, afraid, because she said, come this side, and she was protecting her children. And that reptile was not even doing much, was just there on the table. It was just a message, actually. When Nkosana showed up, simply because of he was busy pulling a bag, of course they're going somewhere, that's when he realized there is a reptile on the table. And he said, don't worry guys, I'm going to move it, because now Sbane was like saying, Baba, take it away, because this reptile is going to hurt us. And Sbane said something. He said, this is the same reptile that I saw in my dreams, and that reptile became my grandfather, Mr. Ngobo. Now they understood that that's the spirit of the grandfather showing up to Sbane again. Remember, the connection between humans or people and animals, it goes deep. I think the right term in English, they call it, I think it might be a totem. I stand to be corrected. Whereby certain people or certain clan associate themselves with a certain animal. It goes way back with the same names and all this type of stuff. It is there. As African people, we know all those things. I don't have to go deep into it. So he showed himself that way. And of course, Zandile had to have a conversation again with Nkosana. And now she was blaming Nkosana about, not taking care of the family. And he said he's going to fix it, but he's doing nothing. Nkosana, that's when he said, no, the only place that we have to go to is the traditional healer so that we can find solutions. Of course, Zandile was not happy about it. And she was like saying, we are going to the same traditional healer who put curse on me. If you didn't even take me to that traditional healer, everything was going to be fine. And of course, she is blaming Nkosana for everything which is happening. She doesn't see herself doing anything wrong. Now, they went to the traditional healer, and the traditional healer welcomed them. But he said, who is this boy that you are with? Now, Nkosana automatically thought of Mvelo, because once somebody passed away, sometimes when you go into places, the spirit of that person can be there, either protecting you or either, being there to destroy. But in most cases, if the person was, the person who was very close to you, normally that person, or that spirit become, the spirit that will always guide you and will always protect you. Now, he thought about Mvelo, and the traditional healer said, no, I don't talk about Mvelo, I talk about your firstborn. which is sbane. And they realized that if sbane followed them, that means this is not sbane, that means this is Mr. Ngobo. That's, Sbane's grandfather. Like he said, I'm going to be in Sbane's life. That means now he is the ancestor who is showing up as sbane. Now, the traditional healer said something. Because of Zandile wanted to know what they must do so that, things can get back to normal. And the traditional healer said, you must do the cleansing. And he wants you to do right by his body. He is not happy about, of course, what they did with the body. The Zulu brothers, they will make the body disappear. He needs a proper burial. And he also wants sbane to change the surname to Ngobo. Simply because of he wants to live in him. Now Zandile was like saying, I am married. My son must use, the father's surname, must use Nkosana's surname. He is a Zulu, not Ngobo. But now for them to fix things, they have to allow sbane to change the surname from Zulu to Ngobo so that Ngobo's spirit can live in Sbane's body. Now that explains why you hear saying this person has ancestors in him. This person has the elders with him. Now that really explains why. And I just love this episode because they went deep into that so that they can give us, a lot of information about ancestors. And let me move to the other, scene that we have seen. We also saw that Lux, he is busy doing, the research simply because of he called Shlomo and he told Shlomo that he needs her to show up to work early in the morning. And she was like saying, we are still morning, we cannot, go to work and this and that. And the guy was like saying, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you to be here. When she arrived there, that's when he started telling her about the CIT. I know that you have information about the CIT, and I know that the Zulu brothers are the ones who are doing the CIT. And after you find out, all the information, you decided, to stop doing some research simply because of you knew that you couldn't report on your family, this and that. And now, that's when she was like saying, what you're telling me is crap. There is absolutely, nothing like that, because I'm trying to select my words well, because of course she mentioned the other name whereby I think the other way to where I think YouTube is not gonna like it. Now that's when they were going back and forth, and Shlomo was like saying, if you have all the evidence, if you have all the information, why don't you just publish the story? And she knew that he doesn't have all the information. But as soon as she left the office, she called Mkhele and she said, Mkhele, I think now this guy's becoming too much. He's putting his nose where, it's not supposed to be. He is touching issues that he was not even supposed to be touching because he's asking about CIT. And that's when Mkhele was like saying, does he knows about Zandile? And by that time they were talking, they were not aware that, the other gentleman, Lux, he is listening to the conversation. Remember that he backed the phone. So he can hear all the conversation that Shlomo is having, through the phone. Now he was writing notes. That means he wrote Zandile's name down. He will go and do more research about who is Zandile and what is really going on, with the story of Zandile. And in the meantime, we had Mkhele said, leave it to me, I'm going to sort it out. And we all know that when Mkhele is saying he will sort things out, he's going to, make him disappear. And we have seen Shlomo smiling because now she had enough of Lux. And then on the other side, we have seen that they have shown us a romantic scene between Naledi and Kawe, because Kawe was there at the hospital. He was there to speak with Naledi. She was super excited to see him. They were talking and she invited him, for lunch there at the hospital, and he agreed. He said, yes, I'm going to do it. But she said, we are going to do it in, the public space where all the nurses and doctors are eating. Of course, it's canteen. And, he said, no problem with that. But Kawe is Kawe. He went there to speak with, the person who is in charge of the hospital. And they gave him permission to have a table outside at the parking lot, so at the parking space, so that they can have a great quiet dinner there. And when she came out there, she was surprised to see him with the security, and the security made sure that he reserved a parking space for them so that they can put the table there and have a great lunch. And it was great. Of course, it's seafood. Then she was like saying, how did you know that I like seafood? And he was like saying, if a man really loves a woman, he's going to do more research and to know what she likes the most, so that she can be happy. Their lunch was great because they've been talking about a lot of stuff. They were even trying to teach each other, how to speak, their languages, because remember, they speak different languages. But their relationship, it is so good. And Kawa, for what he did to go extra mile of making sure that we can have our lunch at the parking space, that was beautiful, that was romantic, because he didn't want them to be in the presence of all the doctors, whereby all eyes will be on her. It was a great scene. And we have also seen that Nkosana was surprised by the message. I believe that message come from Sambulo, telling him that he is still alive. But I like the way he put the message. And Nkosana understood exactly that Sambulo, he is hiding somewhere simply because of his recovery. We might see Sambulo on the next episode, but now I can say, Sambulo, he is still alive. And I appreciate you guys showing me love and support, because we have seen Ngoba also, driving around, a township, and he was busy asking people about, Mandisa's whereabouts. He is busy searching for Mandisa, and he saw the other lady who, contacted, I think maybe they spoke over the phone or whatever, and that lady said, she saw Mandisa, but she cannot take Ngoba there, but she can only give him the address. So he went to that address so that he can go and see if Mandisa is hiding in that place. But we're going to see what's going to happen on the next episode, guys, and I appreciate you guys showing me love and support. I just wanted to speak about it. Thank you.